Hey.
Man. USA. God, I love America. Except for the monster trucks, I really do love America. Mm-hmm. I was thinking the other day, I think that is the only thing that I really dislike about America. We don't need these trucks, people. They're way too big. Other than that, I just love you all. Those who don't follow politics. When I talk about America, I mean people who don't know where Iran is on the map. Yes. Those are the people I love. I just don't want them to vote. But I love them.
Those are the only people I want to vote.
The ones who will bomb another country if some idiot tells them to?
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's just I'm very disillusioned with the hyper online, the people who know everything about everything.
Oh, well, yeah.
I feel like those people are the most susceptible to psyops. They're the people who are most susceptible to getting things wrong.
I think it's now time for a rigorous, scholarly, academic study of the relationship between Twitter, because it's really just Twitter, Twitter discourse and policy. It's not totally clear to me. Sometimes I think that Twitter is where politics happens, where policy basically gets hashed out or argued through, and then it's adopted. And now I'm kind of leaning more toward that Twitter is just its own little weird little bubble full of neurotics, and the people who write policy are on Twitter for sure, and they read Twitter. I've heard this a lot. Like I've heard that staffers on Capitol Hill are all Twitter heads, like they're just on it all the time. But does that really end up translating into policy enacted by their bosses? And it's
less and less.
It's truly unclear. Yeah. I honestly, I think it's an open question. I would love to see. And I think there's probably ways now to do that, to do some metrics around that. But I don't know. I'm leaning more toward we're just jerking off on Twitter.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter ultimately much, if at all, in terms of what happens, as I said, in policy, in the real world. People lose their jobs on Twitter. I know that from hate mobs. I mean, I haven't, but many people have. So there's that. That's a direct, not policy, but direct social consequence of Twitter discourse. But I don't know. Other than that, I'm not sure. Some pedophiles have gotten beaten up, but beyond that,
also the social media candidates, the quote meme candidates, aren't doing well in their primaries. Fishback, who's like the most Twitter coded candidate, is like in third in Florida.
Florida guy, yeah.
You would think he's number one, but from just seeing him on your reels on Instagram, but he's
an odd one. I've only seen him speak for a few minutes, but it was a very new animal politically. I didn't quite understand. I mean, so super anti-Zionist, anti-Israel, with some definite anti-Semitic vibes on the edge. I mean, his anti-Zionism is presented in a way that is often presented by anti-Semites. I'll just say that. And those people do exist, but I can't say he's ever said anything anti-Semitic. Anyway, so he's like hardcore anti-Zionist, but also anti-woke, right? So he's kind of did I get that right?
Well,
what's his deal?
I don't know. For example, he's proposing a quote sin tax, like he's trying to tax OnlyFans models. But it's really obvious that he's just. I would strongly think that he's being paid by these models to promote them, because he constantly interacts with them and shares their content with their at handles.
Oh.
And it creates a ton of attention. So I have a feeling that he's trying to hack the algorithm to get as much attention as possible.
Yeah, it'd be so much better to go back to the time when pretty dumb girls had only one option in life, which was to marry a rich man. It'd be so much better to go back to that instead of where we are now, whereas they can be completely independently wealthy by being pretty and dumb, and not need a man. No, let's go back. Let's go back to the time when they were dependent on some man who was often thrust upon them, and before dating apps, he was usually chosen for them in some way or another. Let's go back to that. Women should not have economic power, and certainly if it involves their, sexuality, that should not be allowed.
Well, you'd see an exodus out of Florida.
Fucking moron purity. It's like, Jesus Christ, guys. We're still doing this. It's 2026. I mean, we're still doing the Puritan thing in America.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Wow.
I just see it as very cynical and unserious. That's all. And that he's an influencer. I think he's just trying to get the biggest profile that he possibly can. Like, he's not actually serious considering implementing policy, And he was pro-Israel like a year or two ago when he was just starting to enter conservative politics. And when the whole thing was you have to be pro-Israel to be on the right, he was pro-Israel. And then now that...
Yeah, that's been the main vibe I've gotten from the guy. He seems like a grifter.
Yeah.
But again, I shouldn't say too much because I don't know. But there was a very strange thing coming off of him.
Mm-hmm. And then Kat Abu Zangela, whatever her name is, running for Congress in Illinois, 26-year-old, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, but she, I think, got second or third in her primary last night after getting a ton of social media attention, being the strongest progressive, being the most TikTok candidate, the abolish ICE candidate, the most fervently anti-Zionist candidate.
Oh, okay. Is she DSA?
I believe so.
Sounds like Chicago DSA?
Chicago, yeah. But, the candidate that beat her is also progressive, but is older, wears a suit, is a little bit more serious.
The question is, who did the Chicago Teachers Union give their money to? Is the only question.
Probably the guy who beat her, Dills, I believe is her name. But yeah.
So whoever that person is means they are A, the establishment, and B, will win. Mm-hmm. Because that's what always happens in Chicago politics. I believe the Teachers Union hasn't had a loser in 60 years. Mm-hmm. I don't think. But yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad. I mean, and then we have polls out now, more polls, I should say, about public support in America for Israel. And there's a mixed thing going on here. And I think this is one of the reasons I'm questioning the importance of Twitter. So now there are multiple polls by different pollsters. And of course, they have different findings given their politics. So you should always take polls with a grain of salt, and that way in particular. But I mean, pretty much across the board, it is for Democrats, and everybody agrees on this. It's gone from something like, I don't know, 60 to 70% support of Israel to like 12% among Democrats. I mean, I think there's roughly 10 to 15% of Democrats who still support Israel. That's it. Independents, similar. It's the disfavor toward Israel among independents, I think, has doubled or tripled in the last 2 years. It's similar to the Democrats number, not quite that big, but it's something like maybe 20% of independents support Israel and like 45% are opposed. It's a wipeout for Democrats and independents for Israel, no question about it. Now, the Republican numbers are contested, and I'm still not super sure what's going on among Republicans around this issue. So most of the polls have shown that Republicans, not MAGA, but overall Republicans of any stripe, are somewhere around 85, I think, percent. Well, no, it's 30% of all the groups don't know anything about Israel, and they say that. So it's the remaining 60 are the ones who are answering these polls, and it's something of that. I think Republicans is still like a big majority of those support Israel, and I think those who oppose Israel are somewhere like 15%. It's almost like the inverse of the Democrats' numbers, so it's a little disappointing, given that over the last 2+ years now we've heard and this has been the big story on Twitter, hasn't it? That the right wing is running away from Israel, that the right wing is turning on Israel, that the right wing is full of anti-Semites and anti-Zionists, and then another poll that just came out yesterday or today on CNN, which I guess is now owned by the Ellisons. Is that right? Did they finally purchase CNN?
Yeah, they purchased it. I'm not sure if the transfer has fully happened yet, though.
Right, if they moved the editors in yet. But nonetheless, either yesterday or today, CNN published its own poll of MAGA voters. Mm-hmm. And what was their number who support? I guess it was Trump overall, but this should include the Iran war.
Well, there was 100% for Trump. for MAGA.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah.
So Putin and Maduro don't get numbers this good. So 100% support. So again, I don't know what this means because Ellison just bought it, and I don't know. But because I can not count. I probably won't stop talking for an hour if I start to list the number of MAGA people on Twitter,
but
who are totally opposed to the Iran war.
Twitter,
exactly.
Twitter.
That's what I'm getting at. When I saw those numbers with Republicans and Trump voters and MAGA still basically being all about him and all about the war, I thought, after again 2.5 years of Twitter, primarily, I would say that's been probably the number one political issue on Twitter has been right wing and Republican and MAGA defection around Israel and opposition to Israel, and much of it like extremely fierce opposition to Israel, like as fierce as any lefty anti-Zionist. But here we go with these numbers. So I don't know what's going on, and this is an open question that needs to be answered with some more serious research.
Oh, there was a poll that said, what was it? Before the war, 25% of Republicans supported a war against Iran. But once the war started, it was 85% supported the war. And yeah, I think, Americans fall into line when they're told we're going to war. Or Republicans do, at least. And Iran's been a historic enemy. If you didn't think the time was prudent to choose a war against Iran, that's one thing. But now that it's started, you want it to win, and you want it to be as fast as possible and as clean as possible, and you want a positive outcome. I
get why. Yeah. I mean, I sort of get why, but again, it just sort of that doesn't match at all what's been going on Twitter. Yeah, but right wing Twitter. I mean, I'm hearing about this from the horse's mouth. I've been hearing, right? You can name 50 people off the top of your head who are hardcore clear MAGA and fucking hate Israel. Yeah, and that's not reflected whatsoever in the polling numbers. It's very confusing to me. What's going on there? Are the polls fake, or is Twitter discourse irrelevant?
Twitter discourse is hyper online, hyper insular. It's an echo chamber. But it's not. Yeah.
But Dave Smith.
Not MAGA though.
Well, he
lifelong libertarian, comedian, anti-war.
Dave was a MAGAtarian for sure.
He voted for him once in 2024, but he's like the whole time he's called him a blood-soaked monster, should be impeached, should be in prison with every other president. That's his ideology. He said that before. He said that during his first term,
Well, all right.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I think there's a lot of people who listen to Dave who voted for Trump, is my point. And I can't imagine that most of them are pro-Israel. I mean, Dave Smith fans.
They're low propensity voters, though.
I'm sure they're overwhelmingly Trump voters, right? Dave Smith fans.
I would say
majority.
If they voted at all for Trump, they're low propensity voters. They're people who see
hate Israel. Sorry. Yeah.
They see the whole system as corrupt. They think all politicians should be in prison. They think all politicians should be probably executed. That's what Dave Smith has been selling. I used to be in that camp, and they fell in line because Trump had so much positive anti-establishment momentum in 2024. They fell.
Okay, sure.
They're low propensity voters who saw one protest vote in 2024.
Okay, says Dave Smith. Fine. Candace Owens is 3 to 4 times to 5 times bigger than Dave Smith. I would imagine almost all of her listeners voted for Trump. And they most certainly don't like Israel, the fans of Candace Owens. So I don't know, why are they not showing up in these polls? It's very odd. I mean, Jake Shields, knucklehead that he is, has a huge following. And of course, every single fan of Jake Shields voted for Trump. And he is as anti-Semitic and anti-Zionist as anybody on planet Earth. So there's no way a fan of Jake Shields is going to be supporting Israel. So again, why aren't they showing up in these numbers in the polls? Because these are presumably millions of people, right, who listen to those podcasts.
This is internet traffic, though. This isn't voters in swing districts. This is internet traffic. And I'm seeing it more and more that a large part of their audience is foreign, and a large part of their audience are bots.
Oh,
that yeah,
that's what's going on. Their audiences are fake.
Yeah,
not American anymore?
Not American for sure. And
really,
yeah, I
believe that.
Yeah,
because of the rapid global proliferation of the term Epstein class.
Yes,
and the whole idiotic Epstein discourse is actually, now I'm seeing it even more in like Iranian media.
Yeah. Also, Candace Owens, married to a British person, married to like, you know,
an aristocrat
from London. She really changed a lot when she started getting with him and then getting with the Tates. And then that sort of got the conspiratorial angle and this whole like Muslim Christian trad cath alliance.
Wait, sorry. When you said the Tates, I really thought for like a good 10 seconds there. The Tate Gallery owners?
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
But, you know, and Andrew Tate audience is an international Muslim, like it's a bunch of a bunch of foreigners who love to look at pretty women in fast cars.
Most of Andrew Tate's audience wears Adidas tracksuits.
Yeah,
trying to say
teenage boys.
The uniform.
Teenage
uniform.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, that's the uniform of the Muslim youth in the global South.
Yes.
You're looking right. Sorry. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to have somebody who follows American politics closely and who comes from the world of American politics, telling them everything they want to hear and saying that they've got an alliance on the inside and paying attention to their pet issues. I think that's totally what builds up their audiences. And you can see it if you just look at who retweets them and who likes their stuff. And if you know, and also likes are hidden now actually, but if you look at who retweets them, it's a ton of foreign bots. And I'm seeing that also with, who's funding Thomas Massie. If you look at Massie's donors, there's a lot of Mohammeds in there.
I'm just begging people. I'm just begging. Please stop with the Epstein stuff. You're just, every time you use that trope, that term, that concept, that fantasy, you're just tying another big weight to your body as you're trying to tread water in the ocean. It's just sinking the credibility of everybody who I care about, who matters, who's important, and who has the right position on war. I mean, almost everybody on the left and the right. That's the amazing thing. Here's a phenomenon that has afflicted, I would say, the left and the right on the anti-war movement, which has never happened before. Usually they have their own things going on. They're both all using Epstein, this is being done for Epstein, the Epstein class, the Epstein, this is for pedophiles. It's so stupid and so ignorant. And this is among people who have otherwise a very sophisticated, quite historically grounded analysis of the motherfucking US empire, which is what this is all about ultimately. I don't understand. Like, it just melted the brain of people.
Well, can I talk about something else that also has been melting the brain? This Netanyahu is dead. This conspiracy theory. Have you seen this?
Well, yeah.
That all of his speeches are AI, that his proof of life confirmation videos where he's obviously trolling you guys, that those are all AI, that if you really look at his coffee cup, you see that he didn't actually drink any coffee. He didn't take a huge first sip. So he's obviously AI.
He has 6 fingers.
His ring is disappearing. Mike Huckabee's face is morphing in front of the camera. That, like,
I mean, it's something the Israelis would do if he did get offed. You know, they probably would do that during a war. Before they would wait until the war is over to reveal it. But the thing is I think Iranian missiles have killed something like, I don't know, 8 or 10 or 12 Israelis so far. Yeah. It'd be pretty impressive if one of those was the prime minister. So, you know, but no, I mean, I wouldn't put it past Israelis to do that at all. Are you kidding me? I mean, look at the propaganda videos they've been putting out, both about Gaza and Lebanon. A recent one about Lebanon, another one of these fake VR kind of videos that shows a missile launcher in a living room in Beirut. just stupendous, like psychopathy. But yeah, no, I mean, I doubt. I think Netanyahu is probably alive.
Yeah. And if I were Netanyahu right now and I were alive, I would be making AI videos to troll people, just to make my enemy more insane, to gaslight and feed their delusions, because it only helps Netanyahu if you have people claiming that everything he does is fake and not actually paying attention to the content of his speeches. And yeah.
I mean, there is, I don't know if this matters. I guess it matters somewhat, but I think there is sort of a cultural similarity between Israeli government officials generally and Trump administration officials. They're all, I mean, the Israelis are the smarter teenage boy. They're the trickster guy, They don't get into fights on the street, but they'll do all kinds of, they'll be peeping Toms, and they'll be like stealing shit, and they'll be, figuring out some scheme to trick their parents into paying for something, whatever. But, on the other side of the ocean, it's Pete Hegseth and Trump himself. And the discourse is just, it's 16-year-old boy stuff. I mean, who really like war movies and clearly watched a lot of them. They're not as smart as their 16-year-old boy counterparts in Tel Aviv, but they have the same basic cultural sophistication. It's just amazing. I've just never seen global military superpowers being run by teenagers before. I've always hated the empire. It used to be run by, is it worse that they were run by 60-year-old dudes in suits who spoke in textbook language and never showed any emotion whatsoever and just repeated the same talking points over and over again and were completely disciplined? And was that better or worse? I guess this is better. This is naked empire, naked power. They're both power, and in fact, Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, John F. Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Barack Obama, all the guys in suits, still, by the way, Michael, the body count, they've still, to this point, killed way more people than Trump has. The body count, he's not even in the top 20 in body counts, I think.
Oh, man, I looked at the body count for the Korea War.
Not
it was
even.
like 2 million.
Oh, my God. Yeah, Truman's the greatest mass murderer, certainly in American history, and which is saying a lot because he's got Roosevelt right behind him. And then there's Lincoln, and there's Johnson, and there's a bunch, and Wilson. But I mean, Truman was just an absolute psychopath. And in 1941, he said to the New York Times, I want the Soviets and the Germans to just kill each other as much as possible. But Trump, no, I mean, what is he at now? What's his number now? He's in the thousands. He's 4 digits. That ain't shit. Presidential history, 4 digits body count. You ain't nothing, dude.
Truman was doing that every week.
You gotta get your seriously. You gotta get your land invasion on.
Well,
you gotta get your carpet bombing of cities on, dude. This ain't nothing.
That's another thing that is disappointing me with the anti-war movement is the lack of historical appreciation, putting things in proportion and perspective on a lot of things.
I mean, they're the only people I know of who know any of this history. So I actually think they're pretty sophisticated on that. That's why I don't understand why, given, and I'm thinking of many people, and they're all like older people, at least middle-aged, who've been doing this for decades, and they do know the history. They know the history really well, like on a Chomsky level. And yet, when it comes down to it, and by the way, Chomsky didn't fall for this, and unfortunately, he's now incapacitated and can't tell these idiots. Chomsky is a big part of this, by the way, which I can get to. I think I said this last week. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, they know the history, and that nonetheless, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, it's because of these Jews in some apartments in Miami Beach and Manhattan who are running everything, and the whole, I mean, what? No, guys, this is Donald Trump's version of the American empire, which we've gone over extensively, and I wrote a very long piece on my Substack, which I think everybody should still read, which lays out exactly what Trump's vision and strategy are in geopolitics, international relations, and foreign policy. Like exactly what he's going for. He's spelled it out literally in his national security strategy document of late last year, and he's over and over and over again in many, many speeches. I know there's a lot of incoherence, but there's also a coherence in it if you're looking for it. And this is what that is. It's part of the pivot to Asia. It's part of delegating power to our proxy in the Middle East, which it is. That's all it is. Israel, which he wants to do in Europe to Britain, and he wants to do in Asia to Japan. It's all there in the NSS. Look it up, guys. Israel is simply our proxy, our forward outpost in the Middle East. So yeah, if you want to say we're fighting this war to protect our proxy, our forward outpost in the Middle East for the empire, sure, I'll say that. I mean, at least in part, it's that, for sure, to protect Israel. Yeah, but Israel, to the American policymakers, for most of them, and I think even for Trump, it doesn't hold any other special significance except that we need it to control the Arabs with. And that's what it's always been since 1967, when Johnson and Bobby Kennedy first started funding Israel and sending jets and missiles to Israel. They said that. It's always been that. And Trump is just, he's the dumb inheritor of that lineage, of that tradition, that 50-year, 55-year, 58-year American tradition of supporting Israel as a very useful asset to have in the middle of the Arab Middle East. And Israel's been doing a good job of mowing the lawn of all the Arabs who live on top of the oil for the last 60 years. They've mowed a lot of lawn on top of that oil and kept the oil flowing. Until a week ago, that oil has basically been, and in 73, besides 73 and a week ago, that oil has basically been flowing the entire time, in large part because of Israel's willingness and ability to kill all kinds of people on our behalf, and behalf of NATO, which gets most of its oil from the Middle East still. The NATO countries still 20% now, and I think it was like more like 50% not long ago, but still 20% of Western European oil comes from the Strait of Hormuz, from Iran, from that area, from the Persian Gulf. So that's what it's all about, everybody. It's really about the Jews, and the Jews are so powerful and mind controlling and rich that they just control presidents and tell them what to do and make. And by the way, Donald Trump, exactly when has he just folded to people? Yes, he is influenced by people around him, but he's influenced by hundreds of people. We've seen him change his mind about things, every issue, basically, because he just talked to his buddy who owns a restaurant in California, and ICE came and took all of his kitchen workers, and now he's got to go out of business. So Trump is he's all for he's now immigration guy. We're going to stop the deportations, which he just did again, was last week, made another announcement about that. We got to stop being mean and taking away these people who are really great and have contributed so much to our country. I'm like, bro, who did you just talk to?
Dude, I think that's public relations. I don't think that's reflected at all in the actions of DHS or ICE or anything on the ground. But
even on immigration, like back in his first term, he flipped on DACA. Remember that? The Dream Act, he flipped completely because what's her name? Ivanka had a soft spot for some kids who were DACA kids and told them about it. And he was like, oh, that's sad. I'm going to change my entire position on this core issue. So yeah, he changes his mind all the time, given who's just talked to him and who's persuasive. And I think that's generally agreed upon. But then again, there's some issues, probably half a dozen, maybe 10 at most, that he has been consistent on his entire adult life. And one of those, this might even be his oldest issue, his oldest position. Was he taking positions on immigration before 1988 when he came out with a statement that we got to take on Iran and take Karg Island in 1988? He said this in an interview.
He's so patient. He is so patient.
In 1988, I tweeted this. It was in The Guardian. He did a Guardian interview. 1988, Donald J. Trump said to the world, we've got to take on Iran. And if it were me, I would invade Karg Island, which he just did. And he has been all over the map on war in general, on empire in general, on regime change in general, and all that. Yes, it's true. Endless wars. Yes, he's been all over the map. Very confusing and inconsistent. Not on Iran. Look it up. Look up all of Donald Trump's statements on Iran since 1988. And you will see the dude has been consistent. Law and order, crime, that's one. He's always been consistent on that. Iran, immigration, I think later. I don't know when he started talking about immigration, but yes, he's always been consistent on immigration too, except for when he flipped a bit on deportations. But, generally he's been anti-immigration for sure. He's been anti-Iran and pro-intervention against Iran for, what is it, 40 years. This is ridiculous to think that, like, the Jews got into his head. Come on now.
So I guess from there, do you think Joe Kent is a clown, or do you think he's a hero for resigning and standing up to Trump on this?
I don't know.
Or is he real? Okay. Yeah. I think it's not that important.
I mean, I don't know about Joe Kent anymore. During the Biden administration, which I think that was truly when MAGA came into its own. And that's when I was following it super closely. When Bannon's War Room was like one of the top 5 podcasts in the world. And I listened to it every day, and Joe Kent was on there a lot. And he gave multiple speeches during that time that were as good as any anti-war speech I've ever heard in American politics, given by an American politician, certainly. Like, just outstanding. I mean, yeah. And I was pretty excited about him, even though he had some other views on other issues that I didn't like so much. But his main thing was war and the empire. And he talked about that stuff the way that basically I do. So taking the job in the first place, now maybe he was told that Tulsi was going to be allowed to be Tulsi, and that he could be her assistant, and they would be the, like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is what happened, that they were told that they would be allowed to do their thing in their little pocket of the intelligence community, right? But clearly we're not allowed to do that. He shouldn't have taken the job. I mean, I don't know, like, why would you?
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
So already kind of like loses a lot of his credibility by taking the job, by then keeping the job for a solid year when we are bombing the shit out of all kinds of people, including fishermen and boats and children in schools. And why did it take you a year and 2 months? And then third, blaming the damn thing on Israel. Just stupid, Joe. And you know that's not true. If you believed in this president so much, if you believed in Donald Trump so much to work for him, why would you now think that, oh, some other country can come along and convince him to go to war? He's that gullible, that stupid, that malleable, that pliable? Come on now. I mean, Donald Trump's an idiot, and Donald Trump is often chaotic in his thinking, but he is consistent in a few things, and he does make up his own damn mind. And he's certainly his own man, and he makes his own mind up. And he's made up his mind against all kinds of people around him too, and all kinds of his supporters. That's why he made that joke years ago about he could shoot his supporters on Fifth Avenue and they'd still vote for him. Apparently that's true. It's just stupid. And it might be it's probably anti-Semitic in some way or another, to think that Israel is behind all this and this is all about Israel and that's all it's about. It's just like, how long has the United States been interested in intervening in Iran, guys? 1953. Consistently.
Yeah.
For good reason, because it's at the center of Eurasia and it sits atop most of the world's oil, or much of the world's oil. Yeah, that's why the United States and the CIA have been all up in that bitch for 80 years now. So why on earth all of a sudden is it's about the Jews in Israel? No, it's about the United States controlling Eurasia. And yes, protecting its forward outpost in that mission. It's been using Israel in that mission to control Eurasia. Using Israel. And this is why every single president, including now Donald Trump himself now, has stopped Israel from taking particular military action. Every single president since 1967 has stepped in and stopped Israel from doing this or that massacre. Every single one of them, or stopped them, or tried to stop them from doing the settlements. Tried to stop them from blockading Gaza. All of them. The Bushes, Reagan, Obama, all of them, since Johnson, Nixon, Kissinger wasn't president, but he may as well have been, was constantly telling Israel to step down, stand down, and scolding them for it too. Never once has Israel controlled American foreign policy.
Well, Also, Lindsey Graham recently told Israel to cool it when they were bombing oil infrastructure in Iran. That like that's obviously the relationship.
Yeah, and they got away with it. But do you think they'll continue bombing the oil infrastructure in Iran if Trump doesn't want them to? No, they won't. Because guess what? Guess what planes they used to bomb the oil infrastructure with? They were made in Seattle, guys. No, they can't do a damn thing without the United States. And so why do we think the tail wags the dog?
Can I give you a hypothetical on Joe Kent and more broadly the anti-war thing? Let's say you were a Joe Kent-like person and you had sincere anti-war beliefs and you got into the administration, and the administration has a broad coalition of different people, but you're the anti-war guy who got a legit spot in a 3-letter agency, and the administration above you does something that you disagree with. Is it right to resign and withdraw your power and then go off to the podcasting circuit where you can hold on to your principles? Or is it better to hold on to your position and try to influence the government whatever way you can with your power?
Okay, so if it's a moral question, that's uninteresting and ultimately irrelevant and immature. I'm not saying
this is moral or strategic.
I'm saying this to you, but many people are posing the Joe Kent thing as a moral thing. Oh, he's a coward. He's backstabbing his Trump. He's his president. He's he's anti-American, anti-Semitic. He's bad person for doing this. Bad, immoral. No, the only question is strategically, does it make sense? And does it make sense according to his own values? Like, is this the correct strategy to carry out or tactic to carry out given his own values? Sure. I mean, again, I just don't know why he took the job in the first
place. His values. The hypothetical is if you're an anti-war guy. Like,
yeah, well, he was. I mean, he most certainly was. His wife was killed in Syria. So, I mean.
Yeah. I just, I feel like the more that the anti-war wing of the Trump movement does what Marjorie Taylor Greene does, for example, and resigns and criticizes him and burns all the bridges.
Right. Yeah.
Right. The more that
how does MTG, like, seriously, why is it 100% MAGA support for Trump if we've got Marjorie Taylor Greene out there? Like, she has a lot of constituents. She's suburban Atlanta. That's like, I don't know. They don't show up at all. That's why I don't believe these numbers.
She was MAGA in 2022. Like, she rode MAGA's wave of popularity in 2022, and ever since then, she's been declining in popularity, and she's in a district that would vote hard red no matter who was up there. So I don't see her as like an actual influencer. Like, I don't see her as somebody with actual pull amongst the base.
And Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Like, how can, right, I forgot about him.
And most people in the base.
Like,
yeah.
But wait, seriously, Tucker Carlson plus Candace Owens and now Megyn Kelly, but especially Tucker and Candace and Marjorie Taylor Greene, please tell me there aren't at least 1 million people who are fans of theirs who are now anti-Israel and negative toward Trump. How could that not be? And why wouldn't that show up in the polling? How could that not be? Really? There's people millions of people listen to Tucker, and none of them are anti-Israel, and they're all pro-Trump?
Most MAGA people remember Tucker from when he was on Fox News, and they would be shocked to see what he's saying on the internet now. I think there's a huge disconnect.
You mean like your parents? You mean like,
sure.
No, I mean like older people.
Older people, yeah. But those are the people, like, 2024 was actually won by Gen X and Boomers. Like, the youth vote came out a little bit more, but it wasn't decisive at all. What was decisive was older people, and especially going into midterms, that's going to be even more decisive, I think. And yeah, there's a lot of noise being made online, and that goes to young people who are low propensity voters, and it goes to an international audience that does not have any sway over American elections. So,
well, okay. Even without the Republicans, although I still think there's a significant percentage of Republicans who are now anti-Israel. But anyway, even if they're 100% pro-Israel, which I doubt. Well, I guess the polls say 80%.
It's not even that they're pro-Israel. It's just that they have their misgivings about Israel, but it's not. They're not going to let that dominate. That's not the first thing they care about.
Yeah. And it's like part of their architecture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like being opposed to their garage.
And it's
it's just always been here, and I live here, and this is where we are, and this is what we do, and this is how we breathe.
And real quick, the Israel thing, and this is why I'm kind of allied with it to some extent, is it's a colonial power, and the same anti-colonial forces, the same Black Lives Matter protesters, the same, the Free Palestine left, the hard anti-colonial left, that is the hard left in America, the communist left, hates Israel, and they go after Israel, and then when that domino falls, they go after the United States, and the myth of the United States as a colonial power, and the foundational justification for the United States existing is largely the same as Israel's. It's the people who took a place, and I want the United States to continue to exist. So I kind of feel like I'm in the same boat as other colonial powers. Like, I don't want the United States to be destroyed. I don't want Turtle Island to happen. I hate anti-colonial leftist critiques of the United States, and I don't want any alliance with any of that.
But you also don't want it to be a colonial power.
I don't want it to be too involved in other places. But your relationship with the anti-colonial left is exactly the same as my relationship with the Islamic Republic of Iran, which is that I agree with them on exactly and only one thing, but it's that I want to remove the United States from the Middle East. Oh,
and so I'm in solidarity with them on that one and only thing. So you should be in solidarity with the anti-colonial left in their kafiyas, chanting "Death to America."
No, and
death to the empire, dude. Death to the American. Just add a word, guys. Death to the American empire. Say that, and everything's cool. Say you love America, which you do because you live here, and you just do, and say death, but death to the American empire. Long live America. Death to the U.S. empire. There it is. There's the slogan. Why is that wrong, Michael Weimer? I'm for bringing the whole military back here. I want the military to be big and badass as hell. I want it to be very, very powerful so that I am never attacked and never will be attacked, and my grandchildren will never be attacked. If we're here, if we're at home.
Yeah.
And close every base and bring everybody home and stop funding other nations, stop funding other wars, stop sending arms to other places, and don't let the damn Navy or Air Force leave the coastline. And no one will ever touch us for centuries. I mean, we've already been untouched. We will never be touched if we just did that. Bring that whole incredible, crazy-ass military to actually defend us? Who would ever even attempt it? Cross the ocean and then attack us? Good luck. But now we don't even have enough. If someone wanted to start launching missiles into the United States right now, would we actually have the ability to knock them down? I don't think we do. I think we're out of interceptors, and they're all being used in the Middle East, and they're all getting destroyed by the tens and dozens every day. We've known this. This has been the big issue, the interceptors in the U.S. arsenal. First of all, we gave half of them to Israel, and now we've destroyed the other half of our inventory in defending against Iran. How many interceptors do we actually have stateside that can defend against missiles incoming from another? Like, if somehow and it's feasible, it's possible, somehow someone managed to smuggle in missiles into Mexico or Canada, I don't know, conceivable. Yeah, it's very conceivable, as a matter of fact. I don't think we are now able to adequately defend ourselves. We're lucky that we happen to have two oceans between us and most of the rest of the world's powers, and Mexico and Canada have zero ability or interest in attacking us, but that's not a permanent situation. Anyway, It's the same old story, everybody. It's not the Jews.
Mhm.
The Jews are our tools,
Yeah.
not our masters.
Well, I was trying to get it earlier though. Isn't it better to keep your position, perhaps like in Marjorie Taylor Greene's case, remain a congresswoman, try to get on committees,
Yeah.
try to vote for things.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Congress is different.
Yeah.
Congress is different because you are basically independent. I mean, at least legally, you're independent. You're not beholden to someone above you. You're not part of a staff or an administration. You're just one representative, and actually legally you're obligated to be independent. So no, that's why I think Ron Paul was so important it was good. It was great that he was a congressman for all those years. It's great, except for his Epstein idiocy, that Thomas Massie has been a congressman. Yeah. So I think that's good. That's the one position that makes sense if you're a political activist. Actually.
But yeah, I see people pulling out of the Trump coalition and insulting Trump, especially on the anti-war side, ceding the ground to the Republican establishment, ceding ground to the pro-Israel side, making them look like reasonable moderates, making them look like intelligent people who understand geopolitics and actually have a plan and actually are dealing with reality. And that when you take your ball and go home and call Trump a pedophile and get rid of your, like in Massey's case, he spent all of his political capital calling Trump a pedophile. You withdraw from your post. I know Dan Bongino is still MAGA, but you're much more effective being the deputy director of the FBI than you are retweeting cat turd on Twitter, and going into the podcast circuit. The alternative people, the second they have a shot at power, reveal themselves to be deeply unserious, deeply unsophisticated. No actual plan of influencing power or changing course here. And the only sophisticated people from that side remaining, I think, actually are J.D. Vance and Tulsi Gabbard. I think they actually have a lot of credibility remaining behind Trump, remaining in positions of power. I know that they're losing Glenn Greenwald, but I think they're actually the last vestige of the anti-war side still influencing things and keeping Trump accountable to the metrics of this won't be a forever war. This won't be like Iraq. This won't be like Syria. In that they're,
And calling Trump a pedophile, calling anyone a pedophile for whom there is zero evidence, zero evidence, as in the case of Trump, should be disqualifying from public life. I mean, you can be allowed to be on Twitter after that, but no one should take you seriously. It's grotesque. It's worse than calling someone a racist, which is bad enough with no evidence. That's quite bad. Calling someone a pedophile is quite a bit worse, isn't it? And when it is absolutely unsupported by any evidence whatsoever, that should be a death sentence in terms of public discourse credibility. Like, you should not be taken seriously for many years at least. It should be like supporting the Iraq war and then listening to you about foreign policy now, except worse, because that's a hideous, and I have nothing good to, obviously I'm extremely anti-Trump these days, but so it's not about defending him. It's just, you're stupid and vicious and vacuous and opportunistic and sadistic, and that's all there is to that. But I guess the worst part is it's just stupid. That's how you explain why Trump went to war in Iran, that he's a pedophile? Okay. I mean, if that's your position, then we really don't have anything else to talk about, and you shouldn't be listened to. But you'll have a huge podcast, and you'll be very successful from your YouTube revenue.
You brought up the national security strategy, and I do think that the Iran war is in line with the national security strategy.
Read it. It says right there. Yeah.
But do you agree that the end goal of the national security strategy is to withdraw from the Middle East and keep the security of the Middle East up to allies like Saudi and UAE and Qatar.
No, it doesn't call for a complete withdrawal, and I've never heard any Trump person say anything like that. But I think they do want to draw down, for sure, from the Middle East, and yes, hand more power to Israel and then also the Gulf states. Now, that's all screwed up. The Gulf states, and by the way, this is the key thing, I think, for this war. I think that's the key thing, is what is the outcome for the Gulf states and their relationship with the United States? Are they going to continue to host those military bases? That's it. Like, and if Iran wins that, that's kind of game over, I think, maybe for the whole damn thing. Like, if the United States has to close those military bases, which are some of the biggest we have in the world, and there's like a dozen of them, maybe more. I think there's 19. There's 19 U.S. military bases in the Middle East right now. That's right. I just looked this up. There's something like 10 or 12 are on the Gulf being hammered to shit right now. I mean, why would the U.S. or the UAE want to continue that relationship and have bases there, knowing what Iran can do? U.S. service members, are they going to want to live in those bases? Are they going to want to fight in wars out of those bases again, which they've done? That's what those bases have been for the last 30 years. All the big wars since 1991 have been fought through and out of those bases. And so if the United States is forced to actually retract in that way from the Middle East, massive military bases, many people are saying if that happens, that will be the end of the American empire, the global empire. I'm not sure I'd go quite that far, but it would certainly seem like the beginning of the end, because the number of military bases has grown. I don't think it's ever gone down, and we have more now than ever before. No one even knows, because some of them are secret, but it's somewhere between 500 and 800 U.S. military bases in foreign countries right now. It's incredible. Look at the maps; they're amazing, of the bases around. And so, if the major ones, and these arguably have been the most important and pivotal, except for maybe Europe, of all the U.S. military bases in the world, for those to close down permanently and go home, that's a win for humanity. That's a win for everybody. That's a win for the American taxpayer, because those suckers cost, what was it, $1 billion a year just to keep open? 10 billion? I don't know. It's billions for each one per year just to keep them going, of course. The deaths, the U.S. American deaths, look at the numbers of people who've died who have served in those bases. It's not insignificant. It's in the thousands now, because Iraq War 1 and 2 and 3 all were fought through those bases. Afghanistan fought through those bases. People were deployed through those bases to the fronts in Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria, and now Iran. So this could be epic, and it may not happen. Maybe somehow the U.S. will keep those bases going. Maybe the Gulf states will want those bases to still be there. Maybe the local populations will allow that to happen. Like in Bahrain, there's riots every day against the United States, and there have been for 15 years now. One of those riots was crushed by the Bahraini government, killed hundreds of people in the streets. They were trying to evict the United States from Bahrain. So, man, that's what I'm hoping for. And I hope Iran continues to pound the living motherfucking shit out of those bases and reduces them to fucking rubble and ash and dust. There's nobody in the bases, so I can say that freely. They're all evacuated. Pound them to dust. I want to see not a single shred of those bases left after this. I hope they can do that. And that would truly be world historic, I think, in the history of the American empire. That would be the biggest setback it has had since 1945, really ever. I mean, yeah. So that's what we're rooting for, everybody. It's a battle for the bases. It's a battle over the bases, I think, primarily. Of course, we don't know. If Trump sends in the Marines to Karg Island and tries to take that island, then it's a whole other set of issues. But I think the disposition of those bases at the end of this war is what will determine whether it was a success or a failure for which side. Oh, God. Beautiful day if that happens.
I don't think Iran has rockets left to do that.
Oh, yeah, they do. You know how I know?
How?
I listen to Israeli think tank propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
And as of today, the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, which is the Israeli think tank in Washington, said, and they're, of course, they're all about, oh, yeah, we've destroyed all of the Iranian arsenal and it's all amazing and we're winning and it's crushing them and they have nothing left. And then when asked specifically, this is on the Call Me Back podcast, for those who don't know, which I strongly recommend because that's kind of the inside the beast, at least in Israeli politics. The guy was like, yeah, no, they're down to like somewhere between 500 and 1,000 long-range missiles. And the other guy says, is that short-range missiles? Is that all them? No, short range is, we don't even know how many they have, short range. And that's what's hitting the bases. The short-range missiles are the ones killing the bases in the Middle East. The long-range missiles is at least 500. That's according to Israel. So as of today. So I bet you there's more like 1,000. And I bet you they've just been husbanding their arsenal because they know that the war is going to go on for 2, 3, 4 weeks, if not more. So they're shooting less now, but I just think they're reserving their stockpile to shoot more because Israel itself is saying they've got at least 500. Where do you think those long range missiles are going? Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, baby. And every Israeli military base has gotten its ass kicked over the last week is going to get some more. And Israel has amazing censorship, so we can't see hardly anything except for clear skyline shots of missiles going in Israel. I've seen 20 strikes on video. They hit something. So we'll see. And I've seen whole neighborhoods in Israel blown up. Neighborhoods in Tel Aviv where like an entire block or 2 blocks of apartment buildings are rubble now. It looks like Gaza. There are pieces of Tel Aviv that look like Gaza now. I don't know. I'd be leaving. Although you can't leave. Ben Gurion Airport just got closed. No one, Israelis are trapped now. If you're in Israel, you can't leave. Well, there's your Zionism for you. Making Jews safe once again. The safe homeland for Jews. Sure.
Do you see the NATO exchange between Trump and NATO allies about securing the Strait of Hormuz?
Funny as hell.
Yeah.
This has been the best comedy of the year so far. So far as I know, every single one of them has said no.
Just today.
Every single one.
Yeah.
I mean, the United Kingdom is saying no to us. What? France is saying no to us. The UK not sending troops when we ask them to. When has this happened? Never. Australia not sending. Australia, like thousands of Australian men died in Vietnam for us. Isn't that insane? Not this. Nope, we're good. We're fine. I think every single country that he's asked has said no or has not responded. And then the very best part is that multiple reports, and this is like pretty damn well sourced, is that Witkoff and Trump have been calling literally on WhatsApp daily the Iranian foreign minister to talk. Please talk. And he's not picking up. He's literally not answering the phone. This is according to multiple reports that the United States, for the entire duration of the war, since the 3rd day, I think, has been calling Iran to talk, to negotiate a settlement, an end to the war. And Iran is just not picking up. You know what? It's just like Russia. Russia stopped picking up the phone a long time ago. Why? Because they've been winning the war. Why should they negotiate? No. You guys, the United States, you need to accept our terms. That's what Russia is saying. They're literally not talking to the United States because they have no reason to. It's amazing. It's that to me is really the turnaround of the empire. When your allies are not even picking up the phone, and then your adversaries aren't picking up the phone either, and so you're completely on your own fighting against these people who don't even care whether you continue to fight. In fact, they kind of want it. It works in Russia's favor. It works in Iran's favor, because the more the US fights against Iran, the more the world economy gets tanked, the more our US bases get destroyed, the more our ally Israel burns up its arsenal of rockets that we gave to them and can't defend itself anymore. It ain't good. The longer this goes, it's not good for the US. And there is like zero evidence of any rebellion inside Iran. None. Not a thing. Not even a single protest against the government. There have been massive million people marches in support of the government, or at least against the West, against the US and Israel. But there's zero evidence. And do you think we would know? You think we would be told by CNN and CBS and all the rest of them if there was some leader in Iran who is forming a coalition to take control and wants to see a new democratic Iran? No, there's not a whisper of that happening. So the regime, as it's called, the government, is clearly surviving, and that's how it wins. It just survives. And we take all the losses ultimately. Gas here is already up 50 cents a gallon. I don't know about you.
Probably $1 from a month ago, probably.
Wow. Yeah.
But
so it's close to $6 in California, where I am.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But crude oil is at $90 a barrel. I thought it would be well over 100 if war broke out in Iran.
That's up from 50. It was at 50 basically, right, when the war started, and now it's almost 100.
It was like 60. So, yeah, but
that's a huge increase. So.
I know, but it's not. In 08 it was 147. Under Biden it was 115.
Well, no.
Yeah.
If it goes down soon, sure, we can recover from that. No problem. We've done that before. The question is, will it go down? Because will the war continue?
Mm-hmm.
And now all the talk from the administration is boots on the ground.
Well,
and Marines and Karg Island.
And the Strait of Hormuz. It's not.
I don't know, but I'm saying they're not. And Israelis are saying, the latest I heard, I think today, was like they're saying, like Netanyahu's cabinet is saying, like they're expecting 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. And then we've also heard of September, as the window we should be looking for this. In other words, they don't know, and they're digging in. That's the thing. They seem to be digging in, not trying to back away. And then also,
well,
they've killed all their off ramps. So Larijani was the guy, if there was anybody in Iran who was going to be like a transition candidate that would be sympathetic, or at least open to talking to the West and Iran and Israel and the US. He didn't
seem super open to talking to the West. I don't think so, but
well, that was the perception.
Yeah.
I mean, he was, because he's like, whatever, he's a PhD in philosophy and he's highly educated and I don't know, that he was perceived as like a moderate. Anyway, they killed him. They killed everybody. Apparently the son is now wounded and dying too. I don't know. Yeah, but this has been the story going around that they've killed the US and Israel, but I think mostly Israel has killed like the top 3 levels of leadership. So there are no replacements. So they're, again, who knows? But yeah.
Do you think? I mean, I don't think the regime can last without competent leadership making decisions.
I don't know. I don't know. It's a gigantic country. I know that the political system is actually totally different than we are led to believe. It's actually quite democratic, and it's also very decentralized. And there's lots and lots of local and municipal governments. Each has its own political parties, and I don't know about parties, but political representation and tendencies. And a lot of people are secular, and a lot, it's just, and it's huge. It's a vast country. And it's also ethnically crazy diverse. Apparently Persians are only like 50% of the country. And there's just like every other ethnicity of the Middle East is in there. And so, and each one of them has its own political base, political culture, blah, blah, blah. And so I don't know. I don't think the whole thing is so centralized that it would fall apart, actually. I think some of it's centralized. I don't know.
But the IRGC that we're trying to take out.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. But so far, there's zero evidence of anything of them falling apart, which is impressive. None.
We'll see in 6 months. It's only week 3.
Yeah.
Out of the thing about
sorry.
Oh, I was going to say the thing about Mashtaba Khamenei's son is that I'm hearing that that's kind of delegitimizing the revolution to have a son. It makes it kind of like a hereditary monarchy, which is something they were trying to avoid with be not like the Shah, be democratic, be meritocratic. Yeah. And this guy isn't an Ayatollah. He's not that much of a scholar. He's not, so that's delegitimizing that the regime would pick him and that they would pick him so quickly and that he hasn't made a public appearance. That seems to be a huge factor. And then, the regime still seems to hold on to power, suppress revolutions through threatening to machine gun everybody like they did the last time. So we're all waiting to see the point to where the people feel safe enough to go outside again and put up any resistance without being gunned down again.
I remain skeptical about the ruthlessness of the so-called regime toward its own people. I know it has been at times, although as far as I know, the great massacres and great atrocities committed by the regime were all against communist insurgents and CIA operatives and Mossad agents and internal, obvious, clear enemies of the state. Have they killed innocent civilians in protests? I'm sure, but I don't know if they've killed that many more than other countries have. So I just don't know. I haven't seen evidence of that. And by the way, these, alleged mass shootings in the protests in February, the evidence of the deaths, I don't know. There was one video or even a still image of body bags in a morgue, I think. And it was like 50 body bags, 60 body bags. Horrific, terrible. But I want to see evidence of the 30,000. They throw numbers around like this. If it was 30,000 people killed, do you not think there would be at least a picture of stacks of bodies somewhere? That's 10 times 9/11. That is, Operation Barbarossa levels in World War II, the greatest killing of human beings in history. That was Operation Barbarossa. It was 10,000 people a day in the first month of Operation Barbarossa. So that would be this. I think it was 3 days of riots, and allegedly 30,000 people were killed in 3 days. Yeah, that's Operation Barbarossa. That's the equivalent of the greatest killing of human beings in human history. So I just don't think so. Did they kill a lot of people? I'm sure. But also I've seen lots of videos of protesters shooting machine guns at police officers and setting police officers on fire and setting police stations on fire. And if that happened in the United States, hello, what do we think would happen? And I've seen like a dozen videos of like a dozen guys shooting police officers and setting them on fire, shooting a flamethrower in their faces. What would happen in the United States if there was an anti-government protest in which dozens of people were shooting police officers? How many American human beings, civilians, would be killed by the state in the United States if that were to happen here? Come on, people. So I don't know. I wasn't there. I haven't been there. I haven't seen enough evidence either way to determine, but I certainly haven't seen enough evidence to be sure that they're that ruthless. Again, they had been infiltrated by at least 3 other foreign countries. The MI6 has been inside Iran for 50 years, 60 years. CIA has been inside Iran for 60 years. And Mossad has been flagrantly inside Iran for 30 years and bragging about it. Imagine if the United States had 3 powerful, big, superpower foreign countries, each with hundreds or thousands of agents conducting espionage and sabotage inside the United States. Do you think the US federal government would be somewhat ruthless if it found out about those people? This is not apologizing for Islamism or the Who cares? Let's be real about what the US has done to that country. It's a little unfair. It's a little unfair. So God, I just heard someone who's very knowledgeable and intelligent, a New York liberal, tell me, mention in conversation, and they killed 30,000 people. How do we come to believe this so easily? Anyway, so I don't know. It's
Iran's numbers are 3,000, and that's one 9/11. So
I know.
Yeah.
Again, if you
UN says 10, 7 to 10. Yeah.
Okay.
But
yeah, I'm sure it was a lot. Again, that's what happens when you have protesters shooting police. I mean, it's just, what? Imagine if January 6th they'd been shooting the police. Shooting. Like, what if 10 or 12? Which
what if they came armed? Yeah. What if they actually did the Second Amendment thing?
Shooting. And then a couple of them brought a flamethrower and set policemen on fire. We would kill oceans of people who did that. All right, let's talk about Cuba. Speaking of good times,
yeah.
What do you know? You know people in and around Cuba. How bad is it? Are people? I've heard that there's actual hunger going on.
It's bad, but the thing is, it's been bad for a long time, and the people there are very resilient. It's been bad since 2020, but it's been really bad the past month or so since they lost all their oil, Venezuelan oil. Yeah. So there's no fuel, and there was a nationwide blackout. There was no energy anywhere in the country for a full day or so this past week, and they're just starting to get power again. But what's astonishing is their president is talking to the Trump administration, and that they're actually starting to have negotiations. And I mean, I've seen videos of demonstrations where people are banging on pots and pans, basically saying, you've been starving us for too long. We need power again. I don't care what happens. Just give us our power back, And I've never heard anybody say anything good about the current Cuban administration and the people who are in power right now. And across the board, you could be an anti-colonial leftist from Puerto Rico or anywhere, and if you know the situation there, I've heard people say, "Oh, their time is coming. They're not providing for their people. They're weak. They're going to fall." And I think that the administration wants to wait until Iran is over to dedicate their full attention to it. I also know that it would be the crowning achievement of Marco Rubio's life to get a regime change there. It sounds like they want a regime change. It sounds like they won't let Miguel Diaz-Canel stay in there, and they won't let people allied with Raul Castro stay in power. But I mean, it's pretty obvious that the United States would control that island to some extent. There's with Iran and Venezuela out of the picture, there's no huge proxy we have to worry about. A lot of people wanted to take it right after the Soviet Union fell, so it looks like it's about to happen after decades.
Yeah, during the revolution in the late 50s.
Oh, real quick, just this is the one thing that I've known for years with the current administration is that even the revolutionary people don't like these guys, and that they see them as arrogant bureaucrats trying to flex whatever little power they have, that they're not from the revolutionary generation, that they're white, that they're,
So, but what exactly are you supposed to do as the ruler of Cuba if you can't get oil from anywhere? There's no politics that answers that. You could be a Ron Paul ANCAP libertarian, or you could be a communist totalitarian, or a social democrat, or Jesus Christ, and you would still be completely screwed, and your people will be starving, and they will be in an uprising against you because they're starving. So the story here is that in the late 50s, during the revolution, Castro and I think most of the revolutionaries wanted a relationship with the United States and wanted to trade with the United States. Generally, going forward, they understood the importance of the United States as a trading partner. They also weren't hardcore communists yet, and they weren't quite allied with the Soviet Union yet either. Then, of course, when the revolution happens from 1960 onward, the United States just imposed a series of sanctions, embargoes, and then a complete blockade on Cuba, refusing to trade with it and then stopping other countries from trading with it. All of American allies have not been allowed to trade with Cuba through my lifetime, basically, for the most part. And so who else? So what happened? The Soviet Union supported it and shipped oil and all sorts of resources and money and weapons and whatever, propped it up, kept it afloat. Cuba was the Soviets' Israel, in a way. It was its forward outpost in this hemisphere, just like Israel served the United States in the Eastern Hemisphere. Although, obviously, Cuba was never as powerful or as effective as Israel's ever been. But that was the story. And then the Soviet Union goes belly up in 1991. And that whole source of funding and oil and energy and support vanished. And ever since then, as I understand it, life has been really hard in Cuba because its number one benefactor disappeared and the US continued and intensified its embargo and blockade. And so it's been harder and harder and harder and harder to get anything into that island. And consequently, whatever economy you have in Cuba, doesn't matter if it's a pure free market economy in Cuba or it's a totalitarian communist economy, it doesn't matter, you're going to be broke because ain't nothing coming in because it's a little island and there is no oil there. And without oil, as we all know, you ain't got nothing. You got no transportation, you got no nothing. So it's not fair. Yeah. Again, it's not fair. I'm anti-communist to the bone, but it ain't fair. Let them have their communist experiment and let's see how it goes. You haven't let them do it ever, not for a minute.
Yeah. Castro murdered a lot of people to get into power in a very brutal way.
So did George Washington.
Imprisoned a lot of people.
So did George Washington. So did George Washington hanged his own soldiers in the streets for drinking.
Mm-hmm. Was belligerent to the United States early on. I think he behaved like he was punching above his weight class once he got into power a little bit.
Sure. Because he had the Soviets behind him.
Even before then, though, I think he was,
Latin machismo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
But I think, the main contention with the embargo is that it's a communist government and the government controls all of the commerce. So anything that comes in would go to the government. And so there's no way to send money there without it feeding the government that you don't like.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's how trade usually, it often goes that way. It's between states. For infrastructure projects or military or, it happens all the time. China does this every single day. They go to another country and build a dam for them. Or send them rice. That's right now. I think, what was it? Which country is being propped up with rice by China now? I forget which one. Maybe Iran, I think. Yeah, it is Iran. Yeah, that's right. I think China is sending, one of the things they're sending to Iran right now is rice. Let them do their thing. They're no harm to us, and especially with no Soviet Union to back them up. I mean, what is little broke ass Cuba going to do to the U.S.? It's disgusting. They've strangled these poor people for geopolitical purposes when they don't even constitute a threat, especially since 1991. Zero threat to the U.S. None. Nada. Nothing. I mean, they don't have a pistol to shoot. So, yeah. I mean, their boxers are great. That's about all they got.
Boxers, MMA fighters,
baseball.
Good
players.
Yeah, good baseball. Great music. But
cigars.
Great cigar. Well, there's better cigars out there.
Are there now? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the thing about the embargo makes Cuban cigars this mystical thing that you can't have, and everybody wants what they can't have. But there isn't good quality control at those factories, and
Yeah.
There's good soil all across Latin America to grow tobacco in.
I know.
But
Dominican cigars are excellent.
But at this point, like, all right, let's just say you're an island. Like, if you're the president of Cuba, wouldn't you want to ally with the United States just out of the simple fact that they're your closest neighbor and that they're the biggest superpower in the world?
Sure.
Yeah.
But that would mean renouncing my entire worldview, the founding principles and values and politics of my country that I lead. I mean, that is the deal. That is exactly the deal. Is so long as you have those views, you will not be allowed to trade with us, and we will do everything we can to subvert you. So that is the choice. Okay. I mean, fine. I mean, that maybe it would be better if we just had an assimilated, homogeneous, all-American world. Maybe it would be. I don't know. But that is the right, Michael. So it's a universalist, globalist view you're putting forward there.
No, it's just a practical understanding of where the power is and who you can trade with. And yeah, I know it. There is a beautiful thing about the island and the culture there that came out of the revolution, that it's stuck in time. But you know, there's regular flooding in the streets. You know, there's regular blackouts. Like there's, you know, there's times where the only food you have to eat is the livestock that you have around. That
I mean, I've seen reports made by lefties, like socialist lefties, Americans who've been going to Cuba in the last week or two, and they are saying there's actual hunger now in Cuba. People are not getting enough food to eat now in Cuba. Yeah. And I think that's primarily the fault of the United States of America. Is my point. Not so much communism. I actually think if Cuba were allowed to trade, it would be doing fine. Maybe not prospering. It probably wouldn't be doing as well as capitalist economies, but I do think the people would be fed.
Well, I hope they trade with the United States. And yeah, I hope that happens.
All right. Well, Venezuela did win the World Baseball Classic, so that there is some comfort. It's in the world. Beat the fuck out of the United States. It's great.
But Venezuela is basically the United States now, though. So it's a win-win, no matter who wins.
Oh, right. Well, yeah. We'll see. We'll see about that. Yeah. We will see about that. I am not so sure. Anyway, we gotta go.
Yeah, after show tonight.
Time for the after show. Yeah, man. So become a Substack subscriber. And you can hang out with us at the after show after every Unreported every Wednesday night. And you can support my Substack, which is the most important thing to do. And I have writing there, articles you'll see, and then Unregistered Podcast is also housed there. So you get all that from a very low monthly Substack fee. So do that, and I hope to see you all. And last week, we had the biggest crowd we've had in a long time in the after show. So I hope to see more of that. Hope you see new people, more new people coming in. Go to thaddeusrussell.substack.com and subscribe.
Are you doing after hours tomorrow night, or
you mean office hours?
Office hours, yeah.
I think so. I'm not sure. I'll announce that to the Unregistered Academy members tomorrow morning.
Cool. But that's been going on, and that's at unregisteredacademy.substack.com. The other Substack.
It's been awesome. Yeah. We've done two Thursdays in a row. It's going to continue for sure. So yeah, if you want to come in and hang out and do our office hours, it's been really, really good, better than I thought it would be. So yeah, join Unregistered Academy, Substack.com. I got 2 Substacks. TR is where all the articles and podcasts are, and Substack Unregistered Academy is where all the courses are, and now office hours. So those are your choices, everyone, and I hope to see some new people soon.
Sweet. Right. See you at the after show. Peace.
Totally. Bye.
Bye.